Hello everyone and welcome to the Something About Film for CineStill 50D 50 ISO C41 daylight film. This video discusses CineStill 50D film, looks at how to use it, the characteristics, limited to, actually I think in this case maybe no real technical details, but will share a bunch of sample photos that should give you a good idea of how this film works. 50D, as we're going to call it throughout this video, is a slow film available in 35mm and 120 formats. As with the other CineStill stocks, this is not CineStill's own film, but it's film sourced from Kodak Vision 3 stock. Specifically, this is Kodak Vision 3 50D. The CineStill process removes the remjet backing layer to make the film safe for C41 processing machines, and also adjusts, I assume this is through the addition of sensitizing dyes, the color balance in the finished images so that the colors in this are corrected for the different chemistry used in C41 versus the Vision 3 ECN2 process. Well, my first tip is obviously that you need a bunch of light for this film since it's a 50 ISO film. I did not find photos that I took with this film that were much beyond a stop outside of proper exposure to be as good as those shot with proper exposure, which basically also means you need a lot of light. So what that means is that if you want to use 50D, plan to use it in settings where you either have enough light or a steady enough camera, tripod type setup for long enough exposures to capitalize on the slowness of this film compared to the rest of the CineStill lineup. So to that end, subjects like sports and action are really not going to work with this film on any kind of reliable or consistent basis. Now there's an asterisk to that. If you have some kind of ultra-fast telephoto and you're in full sun, well, maybe then you could get sports photos for slower sports, or you could get photos during the pauses in sports action. For subjects that will work very well, landscapes in full sun or lower light with a tripod are a great option. Portraits with suitable light or exposure times are also great options. In fact, those are really two things that this film absolutely excels at. Indoor or daylight lit architecture could also work very well with 50D looking at the way that it renders images, though I'm not 100% certain I had a chance to do that with this film while I was using it. And one last tip. I did develop some of this film at home, and I found that the results are highly pleasing. CineStill 50D tolerates home development very well, which is not universally true of C41 film stocks available on the market today. Grain is minimal, as in it's harder to notice the grain in this than it is with the Kodak Ektar 100, which is generally speaking the gold standard for C41 low-grain films. The photos from 50D look almost digital in terms of grain, but they pair very well. This film pairs very well with the performance delivered by vintage. This is especially true, I should say, of vintage film lenses. And so this is a film that film lovers will likely consistently enjoy the results from in regards to how it pairs with vintage, especially lenses. Tonality and tonal range were good. In full sun, skies and shadows retain detail, and that's a hard feat to accomplish with any film. Acutance is simply lovely, with wonderful transitions between areas of various contrast, color, and tone. This is especially beneficial with complex lighting, portraits, and scenes that have a great deal of image nuance. Contrast is good, with a nice mix of shadow and highlight retention, as well as a contrast profile that tolerates rapid contrast change well. This also manifests in the way that colors are recorded with, assuming a good exposure, colors exhibiting good saturation. Footnote: saturation, as we perceive it, is really just contrast, and the darker a color is, the darker it slides on in the contrast spectrum, the more our brains perceive it as being saturated. Sharpness is highly usable and balances the low grain and soft acutance profiles nicely. This is a film that can, within the limits of the speed, record any subject in a flattering manner. Digital conversion is exceptional either with a lab scan or home-based digital camera or scanner digitization. Balancing the colors of this stock with home camera-based digitization will take some practice, but overall it's less of a challenge than with other C41 films. And lastly, most of the CineStill films have a reputation for halation, especially 800T, and that's sort of 800T's signature performance characteristic. 50D really does not exhibit halation except rarely and in extreme contrast shifts. In fact, of all the photos in this video, I think there's about 60 of them, I can think of two or three, maybe a third one, that had halation in them. 50D is like a swan in a flock of geese, an outlier that, through no fault of its own, makes the rest of the flock seem a bit less exciting. 50D is a staggeringly strong film with consistent results that would, for the vast majority of color film shooters, meet or exceed what they want in a slow-speed daylight film. The image profile 50D delivers is, across most lighting situations, consistent and balanced with predictable and captivating results. CineStill makes Eastman Kodak Vision 3 motion stock available to still photographers in an accessible and easy manner that eliminates the need to source a hard-to-find set of film equipment for that ECN2 development process. That we get to shoot Vision 3 and have it return nice results without using a specialty lab is a fantastic benefit to those of us looking for authentic film image character in our photos.